All right, ladies and gentlemen, how y'all doing? It's your boy MC Chaz. It's a wonderful day that the Lord has made today. You see, by 2019, I thought by now people would know better. Let me go straight to the point. You see this marriage thing. First of all, marriage is a union between two people who have come together, left their parents' home to become one, to love each other, to cherish each other, to grow a family. Somebody asked me, when is it time to leave a marriage? I'll tell you. It is time to leave a marriage when that marriage is about to claim your life, when the marriage is about to claim your sanity. You see, we as Africans need to start doing better. My brother and sister, if that marriage that you're in right now is about to kill you, it is time to come out. Stay out. Listen, there's a word in the dictionary called survival. You see, if there wasn't a reason for that word, it would not be in the dictionary. People have to survive in different ways. The armies on the war front have to survive. You, in a relationship that is about to kill you, has to survive. There is never a time when it's okay for anyone to lose their sanity or be killed in a marriage. Never a time. One, listen to me. If that marriage is about to claim your life, survive. Survive for the children. Survive for your family that love you. Survive for the marriage that wants to kill you. You need to survive. You need to come out of it. It is not a do or die. I have been saying this thing for so many years. Some people's feedback is, Chaz, get married first. Marriage is not an achievement for me. I love children. If care is not taken, I go born Peking. I don't need to answer to you. You don't need to answer to me. It is me and my God, not even me and my family. You get what I'm saying? Marriage is not an achievement. What is an achievement is what you have been able to do to impact people's lives. Even if you have children, how much have you put in these children? How much have you invested in them? That they can grow up, become adults, and be able to positively impact people's lives. There are so many big names in history, in the Bible, that were great achievers. They never got married. They never had children. Stop defining marriage as an achievement. When you and a woman decide to come together to be one, it's a decision that you as human beings took. So there should never be a time when this union will cost you your life. I understand it's not supposed to be easy. I understand it's going to be stressful. But you see, the purpose of the stress is to strengthen your love for each other, not to turn you into enemies that you now want yourselves dead. Get out now. If it's going to claim your life, get out now. I'm speaking to you and you're listening to me. Get out now. If you can't get out, my brother and sister, take a break. Nothing wrong with that. Just take a break. Think. Reevaluate. That's all I'm saying. Bye.
Okay. Well, you know what? This is very interesting. All right. So thank you to Andrea for sending me this video. I thought it was really interesting. She thought it was something that I should hear. So there's a part 1 and a part 2. So in the next video, we're going to look at part 2. And I'm laughing because he's talking about marriage claiming your life. And I'm like, are we talking about, if we're talking, because I wasn't really sure if he was talking about violence in the marriage, so a violent person is going to try to kill you, or if you're just going so crazy from the marriage that you're gonna die. I don't know. I thought that part was a little dramatic, but the overall message that I'm getting from this, well, first, let's start with, I think it's very bold of him to be advising married people, and he himself is not married. Me personally, I don't give marriage advice. because I think that there's a very special place for what happens when two people create a covenant that they're supposed to stay with one another forever. So he's talking about marriage claiming your life, and I'm not sure if he's talking about from physical violence or just mental duress or psychological break where you just I don't know. So maybe death means something different from what it is that he's talking about. But there's a few different things that I want to jump on here. So this is the very first time that I've ever heard a relationship guru or expert or whatever it is that he may be, who is male, actually being called to task for the type of relationship that he has behind the scenes. Because for the most part, we just give carte blanche to male quote-unquote relationship expert, not really ever asking or demanding that they have functional relationships themselves. And I think that one of the main reasons that anyone has come to him and have said that is because he is African. There's a bilateral push in the Black American community where we constantly shame and push women to get married. But on the flip side, we push men to go out there and be players, to use other people's daughters to see how many they could tear down or slam or hit or all this other stuff with their penis. And marriage is something that's pushed in other communities like Latinos and even Caribbean people push marriage. And I mean, look, the Caribbean community is not without its issues as well. What happens after you get married and where you go outside of the marriage is something that the individual person is the caliber of that individual person. However, society does not push African American males to get married in the same respect that they push African American women to get married. So I find it commendable that people are like, what is your credential in this area to be giving marriage advice? But the advice that he's given is actually people advice. If anything is gonna damn kill you, come on. You have got to take care of yourself first and foremost. Oh, for those of you who don't know, I am Tonya TKO and I'm a self-love specialist from TonyaTko.com. I help you learn how to love yourself and each other. So on this channel, we use viral topics to become teachable moments in our own lives. And whereas I don't give marriage advice, I give advice individually for people to assess their own self-love. And when you start looking at how it is that you're either self-loving or self-abusing through a relationship, that's when you as an individual make the decision about whether or not the relationship is a healthy one for you to be in. So people are calling him to task. I agree with what it is that he's saying. He's coming out talking about how marriage is not a prize. Marriage is not an achievement. It's a milestone. There's work that still needs to be done once you get into the marriage. Like, there's so many people who come out and they're like, oh, you married, is this that, you ain't married, I can't listen to you, ain't married, right? But the requirement is never really, are you in a healthy, functional, happy, thriving marriage? That's never, it's just simply, are you going to validate what it is that you're saying by making sure that you have a person with a penis who has decided that they're going to align with you and sign paperwork with you? So much so that, look, I had to put somebody in their place on Instagram the other day where a person, I don't even want to go into the details because then you all will know who or what it is that I'm talking about, where this person just comes out of nowhere. Ink ain't even dry on her doggone marriage certificate. She went, from the last time that I saw her a few years ago, she went from being, let me close my mouth with the particulars, but within 3 years, she has 2 children and 1 marriage within 3 years now. So we're talking about back-to-back babies in a marriage where you haven't even gotten a chance to get to know your partner. What is the quality of your marriage? And I had to put this person in their place and then ultimately block them because people, especially women, they feel like this tremendous hurdle where they have to be able to find the acknowledgement, the validity of a male person. And once they get that validity, then all of a sudden they like, you can always, for the most part, when it comes to a Black American woman, you can always tell when they're married, because you go to their page and their doggone banner is of them in a wedding dress, as if that was the day that she was reborn, because a man finally said, yes, I'll walk down the aisle with you. So they're like, oh, let me put the banner. Oh, you can always tell, because within the first scroll of their page, you see that, oh, I feel like I got, I got my validity. Now I got a person with a penis to validate me. So now my word is worth more. So now I could go on the internet and start arguing. And I thank goodness that, that the universe corrected itself in such a way that I didn't end up in that camp, because if things would have gone the way I wanted them to go a few years ago, I would have been one of those people angrily defending out there about what I got because this. And so I respect this person and what it is that he's saying. But there's one part where he said, I love children. And then he started speaking in pidgin. I didn't understand what it is that he was saying. But see, this is what's out there. You have men out there who, their only way to be able to have children is through a woman. And there are some men who feel like, okay, well, I need to get married and have children. And then there are other men who are like, well, they know that there's so many willing wombs out there that they'll be like, oh, well, I may not ever feel the need to really get married, but I can just bust one or two up inside of somebody and then have them squirt out my seed in human form. So yes, so listen, I agree with what this man is saying. His audience is a little bit different than mine, but I thank the person who sent this to me, because it's not often that I find male gurus that I can really truly agree with, because far too many of them out there on some other stuff. But like I said, he also has cultural differences because he is an African man. So he's coming from a different standpoint. I find that a lot of the advice that women get in the Black American community comes from a place, from a person whose brokenness has never been put to task or called to task. What work he has done internally has never been brought up to the forefront. All they need to know is that a person with a penis, with a penis is saying it, and then all of a sudden the claps and the kudos and the congratulations, because of how we feel that just being a male person gives you the validity on whether or not you know what it is that you're talking about in terms of relationships. Some of these men giving advice, you have not seen a functional relationship existing in the background of their lives, but yet they still continue to go out there purporting all of these things. But listen, when it comes to advice, there are some things that, I'll say it this way, right? There are some things that people proclaim that sounds good on paper, but just doesn't really work in application. And then there are other things that, sometimes you listen and the stuff resonates with your spirit, and then you go from there. This is part of the reason that I don't give marriage advice, because you're talking about two people who have entered into a union where they have pledged themselves to each other until death do them part. And then me on the outside, I find that it's a quagmire. When you start getting into people's relationships, you really enter a quagmire where any advice that you give them is, they're really only going to listen to what it is that they agree with. And then they could agree with you for the time being. But when all is said and done, they're still bound to this person. And then it ends up putting a rift between you two, because you've given some great advice, but it's advice that they really can't apply, because at the end of the day, they're entangled with this person. So look, I respect Son right there. I respect him. I respect what it is that he's saying. And we're going to listen to his next video up next. There's a part 2 to Marriage is Not an Achievement. I want to hear what it is that he's saying there. So stay tuned for that. Make sure that you go out. Make sure that you go and you get my book of affirmation, Self-Love, which is available right now on Amazon. You can also get it autographed when you buy it on my website, TonyaTKO.com. So on that note, I will see you all in the next video. Peace.